All right, good morning. Here we are again. Just rolling on through and into 2025. So any comfortable seat will be just fine. Maybe you want to really be sure you're feeling that connection to the earth and you move some of the flesh underneath the sitting bones and sink down into the earth. Cup the knees with your hands and lift your heart. And when you do this, if you'd like to close your eyes, you can turn that gaze inward right from the start. If you can close the mouth and breathe in and out through the nose, you can do that right from the start. And feel as you cup the knees and lift your heart, feel already some dynamic tension. You might feel the heaviness of the sitting bones. And if you don't feel heavy in your connection to the earth, let out a sigh and let your bottom feel a little heavier. And then lift your heart so you feel that sinking down, lifting up, a very slight and gentle tilt of the chin towards the throat, a very slight and gentle engagement of the shoulder blades drawing behind you, a nice hug of the rib cage around you, a sense of the belly expanding and contracting with the breath. And then you can release the knees and turn your palms to face up. So really deliberate movements here. Back of the hands on the thighs, and then feel the heaviness of the backs of the hands resting on the thighs. And bring your attention to the palms and feel some lightness or energy on the palms. Open to receive this day, open to receive this practice, open to receive yourself just as you are. And join your thumb and index finger together, pressing the pads together, the knowledge seal connecting to your inner wisdom, and taking your eyes closed or open and directing them towards the third eye point between and above your eyebrows and towards the center of your head. And find the breath that is breathing you and feel it. Just take your time to experience the breath breathing you. Not really doing anything in particular, just feeling the experience that is happening right now. Chin and jaw soft. And as we move into our practice today, which will involve some deep stretching in the hips, know that it's not really where you are in the practice, right? What the leg looks like or how deep the bend in the knee is. It's really how deeply you experience each moment of the practice. And this is your opportunity to pay attention to yourself, to have this deep experience of understanding each moment, maybe learning a little bit about yourself and all of the various aspects of you, right? Maybe you're feeling at any moment in your practice some tension and also some lightness, some frustration and also some joy. I mean, all of it together as we've talked. When you inhale, feel the breath as you bring the breath in. Draw it up from the tip of the tailbone to the crown of the head, or feel that. And on the exhale, feel the breath from the crown of the head down to the base of the tailbone, sinking into the earth even. So inhale, feel the breath, maybe along the sushumna, the center channel, the spine, drawing up and drawing down on the exhale. And just energetically feel that wave as it goes up and comes down. And then we're going to change this a little bit. Just let the breath flow. Let go of that up and down stuff. And this time when you inhale, feel the breath come from all directions and expand the heart. So maybe it comes from up and down and expands the heart. And when you exhale, send the breath both up and down. So exhale down to the tailbone and up to the crown of the head. And then inhale back to the center. Exhale down and up. And clearly the breath is moving in and out through the lungs. We're not changing the mechanism of the breath, but how you feel it can really influence the prana or the energy the life force. Let it go. And then when you inhale, fill the body with the breath, fill the heart with the breath, and then send the breath out in all directions. Not just up and down, but all around you. And do that 2 more times. Inhale, fill the heart. Exhale, send the breath out. Inhale, fill the heart. Exhale, send the breath out. Let the breath return to a natural, organic pace and rhythm and flow. Take a moment to set your attention free to take in what you carry right now. What's with you? What's going on in this moment? And sometimes you can name it if you want, like, oh, I'm thinking about this, or, oh, I worked out and I feel this in my shoulder, or, oh, there's some soreness in my back, or I feel stiff, or I feel happy, or I feel irritated. But sometimes you just have an experience that you don't even have to name, and you just feel it. And it's a good practice to get out of having to name everything. We don't have to name everything, analyze everything. We can increase our capacity to just be with the experience as it is without labeling it in any way. And what is that like for you? Good. And then as you consider this day, this practice, where you are, what you carry, is there a direction that you want to point yourself in? Is there a word or a phrase that can serve as your GPS for the practice for the day? Maybe you've been working on patience or compassion or strength or courage, anything, forgiveness, blessing, anything. And then let your arms float up on your next breath. And as they float up, exaggerate the heaviness of the lower body. Palms turn towards each other. Interlace your fingers all the way to the webbing and press your palms to the sky and feel a stretch across the palms, and point your thumbs away from your hand, or stretch your thumbs away from your hand. So you get that, even a stretch in the webbing by the thumbs, which is not necessarily interlaced. And then stretch over to the right. And if you tend to drop your armpit when you stretch over, open it up. Good. And then using the squeeze of the webbing of the fingers, come back to the center. Good. And stretch over to the left. So feeling deeply today. So when we come into the second chakra, the hips, which we'll focus on today a bit, it's all about emotions, feeling, creativity, this kind of I guess it's the right brain stuff, not the left brain stuff, not the thinking mind. Come back to the center. Palms together, thumbs come into the heart. Feel the energy in the shoulders. Just roll them a little bit. Thumbs touch at the sternum, back of the neck is long. One vibration of Om, silently or out loud. I'm going to do mine out loud. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale for Om. Oh. Hands come down on either side of you. Open your eyes if they're closed and come onto your back. You can keep your blocks within reach. You can keep your blanket within reach. If when you're on your back, your chin kind of juts away from your neck and your shoulders are having a hard time relaxing, slide your blanket under your head. What it will do, it will just lift you up enough to lengthen the back of the neck, drop your chin towards your throat, and maybe allow you to relax your shoulders. We're going to bend the knees and place the balls of the feet. So press the ball of the big toe through the ball of the pinky toe onto the mat. Lift all of your toes. And then your heel, feel your heel sinking in. Feel the arch lifting. Lower the toes so they rest on the mat. Now feel the part of the back that's on the mat, just at the sacral area, and the part above where there's that little arch in the back where it comes off, and start to pulse your pelvis. So it's almost like you're going to push your heels away from you. They're not going to move on the mat, and your tailbone lifts a little bit, and then pull the heels in, and the tailbone presses into the mat a little bit, and just kind of rock your pelvis. And you'll feel kind of the whole body pulse a little bit. Think about pulsing. Don't be very precise with this. Don't go, oh, inhale, tilt, exhale, push in. Just pulse. And you'll feel it'll pull on your shirt, depending on what you're wearing. It might even, for me, it bothers my hair right at the back of my head because it kind of pulls on that. But let it happen. And then let it be even looser. And as you do this, relax your low belly, which for some of us is hard to do, especially if you spent a lot of your life holding in your belly. I did. Try not to anymore. But just let your belly kind of slosh around. And if you did, like Claire was saying, she had coffee, if you did drink a lot of coffee, there's going to be a lot of sloshing. So next time we do this, I'll warn you before, but just let it slosh, right? That's the words to live by. Let it slosh and keep going. I used to say, we used to work for abs of steel. This is like abs of jello. Just let it go. Few more breaths. We're really trying to get some energy moving in the second chakra area. It gets very stagnant here sometimes. Do about 4 more breaths with this. And this is something, if it's interesting to you, something you can do, for a while. If you're, taking a break to do some stretching or leaving your desk to do some things during the day, and then pause and feel, the body's mostly water, right? And when we think about the full moon that pulls the tides, kind of brings it all together, just feel the movement there. And then we're going to really slow it down. So do what we sometimes do, more slowly. Inhale. And when you exhale, push the low back just above the sacral area into the mat so that your tailbone points up towards your knees, but it just barely leaves the mat. Good. And you'll feel your belly engage. Hold that for a few breaths. Relax your face. We're just going to really get into this area before we move more. And then let your tailbone drop down and tilt your pelvis kind of away from the mat. It's that posterior tilt. So your tailbone's pressing in, your belly's kind of lifting up, and the space, you could put your hand underneath your back now, and you're strengthening a little bit of that area. Good. We're just going to do this 3 times. Press the low back in, tilt the tailbone. Keep breathing. Yeah, good. Push down the low back a little more, and then tilt the tailbone. Press your shoulder blades in, broaden across the front of the body. Push your shoulder blades in, push your arms in, a little bit of isometric arm work here. And then tailbone tilts up, last time. Squeeze a little. And then rib cage lifts up a little. Good. And then come back to some neutral place and bring the soles of your feet together. Now, when you bring the soles of your feet together, if this feels like way too much of a pull on the inner thigh, you can put your blocks to support your thighs and give them a little resting place. If it's okay to allow the knees to come out, they can come out. Now notice your low back. If your low back feels a little bit tender, mine does this morning, you could put a blanket underneath your low back to lengthen that part of the body. So I've slipped a blanket under my tailbone. You might want to do that. Give this 4 breaths here. We're starting out moving slowly. We're going to move more quickly. Feel into it, right? How deeply do you feel it? Relax your jaw. Now imagining, so this pose looks like a butterfly. Sometimes it's called butterfly. Imagine that your knees were wings of a butterfly and start to flap your wings. And just bring them in a little bit, let them drop down. Your pace here. I'm not going to say go fast or slow. See how you feel. And then if you get warmed up, you want to make them a little bigger, you can. Oof. About 4 more breaths here. Very different practice than we did last week. That's okay. We want to have that variety. We want to kind of challenge ourselves and present our body with different challenges over time. So we're not just developing one aspect. Now, let your knees fall open again. 4 more breaths. Notice if this being on the back, moving slowly, is trying your patience today. That's an interesting thing to observe. Or if it's like, we're on our backs, I could stay here all day. I could, but we won't. Good. And then when you are ready, you can bring the soles of the feet to the mat. I'm going to take my blanket out. You can keep your blanket if you'd like. Float your feet up. One hand to each knee and just make circles with the knees with the feet floating up. So now you've got a little massage to the low back. You can rock your pelvis a little bit here. Reverse the circles. Good. And then keep your legs together and circle the legs together like you're stirring something with your knees. A few times in one direction and a few times in the other direction. Good. And then hug your knees in. Chin towards your throat. Good. Give this a few breaths. So when you do this, can you keep your whole face really relaxed? And still, can you pull up a little more until you feel this in your belly? And now we're going to rock about 6 times forward and back on the spine, if that feels okay to you. If rolling on the spine is not for you, you're just going to roll over to the side. But otherwise, you're going to roll forward and back. You can let yourself really swing here. So we're just moving energy that might be a little stagnant in the lower part of the back up to wake up all of the chakras, all aspects of ourselves. How many is that? I don't know. Let's do one more. And then cross your ankles, bring your hands down, come up and find yourself in downward facing dog, just like that. So pretty quickly coming into our downward facing dog, and let the head hang and pedal the feet. And do that in a very exaggerated way. So one heel dropping down, the other knee bending, drop down. And for the knee that's bending, can you rest the side of the rib cage that's closest to it on that thigh? Do a few more of these. Let the head hang. Maybe you sigh out, maybe you out. Heels come down. Engage the belly. Pull, see if you can feel like you're pulling the belly up and under the ribs, and walk your hands towards your feet until you are in a forward fold. Now we've been down for a long time, so let's come up halfway. When you come up halfway, make sure the weight stays even on the front and back of the foot. So if you start to come up halfway and you sink right into your heels, tilt forward a little bit. Back of the neck is long. Now swim your arms around you, interlace your fingers and see how your shoulders feel. Squeeze, imagine you could crack a pecan between your shoulder blades. Back of the neck is long. Good, inhale and exhale, relax your jaw. Come up all the way, just so we can equalize a little bit. I want to come down again, and then fold forward. Now that we got things, I don't want too much pressure on the head for too long. Opposite elbows, take hold of them and sway around, side to side to side to side to side. Good. Nice. Release your hands and drop your tailbone. So imagine you could point your tailbone down, roll yourself up. Let your upper body be very heavy. Feel the strength in your legs. As you roll up, come to be nice and long. Shoulders lift up and onto the back. Hug your ribs around you. Reach the arms up and over your head. Fold forward. Good. Walk your hands forward. Come back to downward facing dog. Keep your heels to the mat for as long as you can, and then let them lift and make your feet a little wide today. Lift both heels, swivel them to the right and lower them down. Lift your left hip a little bit. Good. Come back to the center. Heels are high. Swivel to the left. Lower your heels. Lift your right hip a little bit. Nice. Come back to the center. Heels melt down. Bring your big toes together. So now your feet are together. Lift your right leg. If you wake up, kicks on the right side. Now let your heel be really close in Lift the outer right thigh, your outer hip. Good. And then do one big circle in each direction with the knee. Draw it in slowly, really carve a circle out. Good. And then the other side. Good. Open up that wing again. Open up. Good. Square your hips now. Look at your thumbs and bring your knee towards your nose. Round here. Place your right foot between your hands. Lower your left knee. Lift your upper body. Come to this nice lunge and just lift your arms up. Good. And then just sink forward and back. Pulse a little. Forward and back. Forward and back. Forward and back. Hands come down. Left hand stays down. Right arm sweeps up. Good. Sink down. Don't be afraid to let your pelvis come forward a little bit. Full foot of the right foot is pressing down. Bring your right hand down. Lift your left knee. Let your right foot meet your left. Good. So hug your ribs around you and lift your heart here and let your hips drop. So this is kind of a hanging cobra. Don't let your hips just sag like this. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm just totally putting a lot of pressure on my skeletal system. But here I've got my muscles engaged and I'm lifting up. And then I round back up and come back to down dog with my toes together. Lift your left leg up. A few wake up kicks on this side. Let the heel stay closed. You're going to open up that wing. Good. And then carve a big circle in each direction. Knee comes in and around and up. Knee goes out and around and down. And lift your hip one more time. Open up that wing. Let the leg be fairly heavy. Square the hips. Look at your thumbs. Nose and knee towards each other. Round the back body. Make space to put the foot between the hands, but you may need to help it with your hand or a few steps. Lower your right knee. Lift yourself up. Open up the arms and just kind of sink forward and lift up. Sink down. So how deeply can you feel this simple move? Bring the hands down. Right hand stays down. Left arm lifts up and you have this nice twist. Yeah. Open up. Bring your hand down. Lift your back knee. Front foot meets the back. Good. Let's do, just for strength's sake, a half of a push-up. Come down. Your knees can come down and lift up. Woo. Then lift your heart. You can untuck your toes here if you'd like. So it's kind of a hanging cobra. And then belly pulls to the spine. You come back up to downward facing dog. Let out any sound. Engage the belly. Pull it towards the spine. Walk your hands back. Soften your knees. Roll up slowly. Shoulders come onto the back and down. Good. Walk so that you are in the center of your mat facing the long edge. We're going to do a few moon salutations. Hopefully you had a chance to see the full moon. This was called the wolf moon because I guess this is a time of year where wolves howl a lot. That's what they're usually based on, something that's going on in nature at the time of the full moon. Root your feet down, soften your knees, reach the arms up. Nice. Stretch over to the right. And as you do, can you make your feet as evenly rooted into the earth, one as evenly as the other? Come back to the center. Over to the left. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. Back to the center. Step wide. So we're going to come into a squat. Feel your toes turn out slightly. Sink down. Good. Lift your heart. So this isn't one of those squats where the hips are behind us. They're right under us. That way we can come into our star. Yeah. Shoulders maybe come down so you can relax the neck. Your left toes will spin to the long edge of the mat. Right toes to the short edge. Arms come down. Take your left hip back a little bit. Reach your right arm forward. Soften your knees so they're not locked and come into triangle. Yeah, good. Hand can be on your, beautiful. These triangles that I can see look very nice. Now turn towards your right foot and come to pyramid. Give this a moment or two to let it kind of soften, let whatever's resisting soften to you. Face stays nice and round. Good. Now bend your right knee and come into a lunge. Hands on your mat or your blocks. Make sure your back toes aren't turning out. And in fact, pull your back hip forward a little bit. Good. Now walk to the long edge of the mat. How low can you stay? Nothing that's not available to you, but maybe a little lower than you think. Coming over to the other side. Finding lunge on this other side. Now the left toes are pointing to the short edge of the mat. Bring your left hip back a little bit, right hip forward. Make sure that right toes are not pointing out towards the long edge of the mat. And then step onto the left foot. Pull your right leg in for Parsvottanasana. Pyramid posture. Pull your left hip back and lift it up a little bit. Sometimes it drops down. Good. Let this soften to you. And then turn your right toes to the long edge of the mat. Let your left arm glide up the leg as your right arm lifts up. Good. Drop the shoulders onto the back. So you're strengthening the low back, the upper back too. Pull your shoulder blades together behind you. And maybe that takes some pressure off your lower legs. Press your feet into the mat. Come back to your star. Sink down. Tailbone drops right down to your squat. Good. Yep. Feet come together. You're going to push off of one and step together. Arms reach up. Stretch over to the left. Yeah. That left. Come back to the center. Over to the right. Nice. Back to the center. Hands come into your heart. Good. Notice. Come back to intention. Deep experience, right? Even of just standing. Sometimes we're like, okay, I'm just standing. So we've labeled it as standing, something we do all the time. We think we know what it is. If you take the label away, what does it feel like to have the balls of the feet pushing into the mat, the heels, the arches lifting, the toes relaxed, the strength in the legs, the breath, breathing the mid-body, the shoulders, any energy and movement in the upper body, even the crown of the head. Reach your arms up. Over to the left. We'll go a little more quickly this time. Come back to the center. Over to the right. Come back to the center. Step your feet wide. Sink down. Find that squat. Come to your star. Left toes to the short edge, right toes to the long edge. Open your arms, tilt your right hip back, and fall over. Yeah, good. Keep your heart nice and open. So if you're here, pull that shoulder blade onto the back. Turn towards your left foot. Parsvottanasana. Maybe things are a little softer now. Pull your front hip up and back. Bend your front knee. Come into your lunge. Maybe you can really go low and you just didn't ever try it. So see what happens. Trust your body, trust your wisdom, and come to the other side. Sink down. Good. Lengthen the right leg. Pull the left toes in. Parsvottanasana. Head hangs. Turn your left toes to the long edge of the mat. Right arm's going to glide up the right leg. Left arm's going to reach you up. Press your feet into the mat. Come back to the center. Good. Sink down to your squat. Nice. Go a little lower. Feet come in. Arms reach up. Stretch over to the right. Come back to the center. Stretch over to the left. We're going to do one more set. Come back now that we're nice and warm. We're going to go with the breath. Good. Reach the arms up. Over to the right. Exhale. Come back to the center. Over to the left. Exhale. Back to the center. Step your feet wide. Sink down. Just one breath so you don't have to stay too long. Lengthen the legs. You're in a star. Left toes to the long edge. Right toes to the short edge. Hip goes back. Triangle. Good. Turn towards the right leg. Hands come down to your blocks or to your mat. Let your upper body drape towards that leg and then bend that leg. Walk around. Challenge yourself a little bit or find your edge, really. Come to your lunge. Lengthen the left leg. Come to your pyramid. Drape the body towards the leg. Turn your right toes to the long edge of the mat. Left arm glides along the left leg. Right arm lifts up. Press your feet into the mat. Lift yourself up. Sink down. Step your feet together. Reach up. Over to the left. Come back to the center. Over to the right. Come back to the center. Hands come in. We're going right back to the other side. Reach the arms up. Just flowing through. Stretch over to the left. Come back to the center. Stretch over to the right. Come back to the center. Separate your feet. Sink down. Exhale takes you down. Inhale lifts you up. Turn your right toes to the long edge, left toes to the short edge, arms down, hip back, fold forward. Nice. Turn towards that left leg. Parsvottanasana. Upper body drapes down. Bend your left knee. Extend back to a lunge. Good. Walk to the long edge of your mat and around. Come to your lunge. Ooh. Lengthen the right leg. Bring the left leg in. You're draping the body over the right leg. Then the left toes turn to face the long edge of the mat, and the right arm is close to the right leg, and the left arm lifts you up. Press the feet into the mat. Lift your whole self up, and then drop your whole self down. Good. Feet come together. Reach your arms up. Stretch over to the right. Come back to the center. Over to the left. Come back to the center. Hands to the heart. Can you place one hand at your heart, place one hand at your belly, and close your eyes while you're standing, if that's comfortable for you? And energetically feel what's going on. And as you energetically feel what's going on, visualize a full moon, if you would. This soft, strong energy. Good. Step to the top of your mat. Reach your arms up and over your head. Fold forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. And exhale, fold. Take both feet back to plank. Do a half of a push-up, so you go halfway down. And then lift up. And then go all the way down. Untuck your toes, separate your knees, and bring your toes so they touch each other. And from there, do a little cobra. It's going to feel a little weird. Come back. Good. Extend your legs. Come to a tabletop position, and then walk yourself in to a lifted kneeling position. If you want to pad your knees, you can. I do like to pad my knees when I'm on a hard floor. If you're on a carpet, you're probably okay. Take your right foot forward and bring your hands to the inside of the right foot. Your left foot is right behind your left knee. And rock a little bit forward and back, and even circle the hips a little bit. One direction and then the other. Coming into lizard. We haven't done this in a while, just a deeper lunge. And you'll see where you go, right? It's not where the leg is, it's how deeply you feel it. So if you feel it before you go like really deep in the way it would look, that's fine. It doesn't matter how it looks. So hands are on your mat. The knee is more or less over the ankle, and then walk your right foot so that it lines up with the edge of the mat. So it's a little more open than the hip, and bring your forearms down if you can. Maybe you're lowering onto a block, or maybe this is your deep feel, right? So find your deep feel. That's what we're going for today. Give it about 3 more breaths. So a lot of the same qualities and things that you might feel like when you're in pigeon, but different. Now, if you'd like to, and if it's available, roll the pinky edge of your right foot onto the mat so your right knee is pointing out to the right a little bit. And that'll change things. Your left foot, you can keep it tucked under the toes, or you can just have them be relaxed. And then if you want just a little bit more, see if it works for you. Walk your hands over to the left, away from that knee. Try to keep that left leg as an anchor. Good. Maybe 3 more breaths here. Told you, very different than last week, and very much about the hips and the second chakra. A lot of stickiness here often. Bring yourself back, the upper body first, then the lower body, and come up to a more lifted lunge. Your back knee's still on the mat. And then see if you can float your left foot off the mat. And if you can reach around with your left hand, see if you find your ankle and just lift your right arm. If you don't find your ankle, keep that leg in. It's going to really work the hamstring. Reach back. If you're holding your foot, your hamstring gets a bit of a break. And if the foot doesn't lift off, that's okay. Imagine it lifting off. It will someday, maybe, and maybe not. Bring the foot down, bring your hands down. Lift your back knee. Oof, bring the front foot in and bring your knees down and come to a lifted kneeling position. Ooh, close your eyes energetically. How you doing? Reach the arms up. Hips come to the knees, forehead comes down, child's pose. Hold on to your heels if you'd like. And if you want to, you can take this. If you're holding your heels, you can take this into what we call rabbit, which is a really rounded back body. Chin comes to the throat, and you're trying to put the crown of the head on the mat by your knees and lifting the back body. Lift your tailbone off your heels. This can be a really nice stretch. We don't do it a lot. I don't know why. But you're holding your knees, so that gives you that pull. And then come back, lifted kneeling position. Woo. Made me a little lightheaded. If it makes you lightheaded, take a breath. Good. From here, left foot comes forward and the hands come to the inside of the left foot. Sink down. Feel into this first. Rock a little bit forward and back and circle the hips around. One direction and then the other. Wow. Come forward. Heel toe the left foot out so that the edge of the foot lines up with the edge of the mat. Make sure your right foot stays right behind your right knee. Lower to where you get that deep feel. Inhale and exhale. Relax your jaw. Give it time for this stretch. Sometimes we're so busy in this class moving through our sun salutations and things, we don't take the deeper time in the stretches. Let's do it today. And then you can, if you'd like, roll your left foot to the edge, the pinky edge of the foot, the knee comes out. Give that a little bit of time. Don't do anything else yet. Now you can do something else. You can walk your upper body over to the right if you'd like. So you're walking your upper body away from that left knee. Your right leg is anchoring you. You might be shaking a little bit. Make sure you're breathing and shaking if you're shaking. Walk your hands back in. Lift your upper body. Then you're going to heel toe the left foot so that it's in line with the hip. You're going to come back to that lifted kneel, lifted lunge. Good. And you can take your right foot off the mat, maybe. If your right foot's off the mat, you might reach around for it and hold on to the ankle. And maybe then you lift your left arm. See where you go with this. Lots of ways to do it. Your expression of this. Maybe if you're holding your foot and lifting your arm, you look up for a little balance challenge. And then without a big spring action or a big thunk, you lower your leg. You come back, lift your back knee, bring your front foot to meet your back. Come to plank for a moment. Let's do that half push-up one more time. Got to get the strength in somehow. It's all strength. Come back to the downward facing dog. Good. If you have a blanket on there, you can move it. Lift yourself forward. Drop your knees. Keep your heart lifted. Lift your toes. So now the arms are long. We're really hanging in our cobra. See how it feels. If it's too much for the low back, pull your belly towards your spine and come out. Otherwise, heart comes forward, forward, forward. Come back to your child's pose. If you liked that hanging cobra, you can come between child's pose and hanging out there a couple more times. Otherwise, stay in your child's pose. I like it, but it's not a universally loved thing. And the knees feel it too. When you're ready, you come back for child's pose. Knees can be apart or together. You'll notice if the knees are apart, you're going to feel an external little bit of rotation in the hips. If the knees are together, it might provide a deeper back stretch. So see what you feel like you'd like to have right now for the next 6 breaths. So depending on how fast or slow you're counting, you may already be at your 6 breaths. Let yourself come up enough that you can turn yourself onto your back or flip yourself onto your back, however you want to do that. And when you come onto your back, separate your feet wider than your hips, maybe even wider than your mat. You can put your hands on your body or out by your sides, you decide, and just windshield wiper your knees, letting your body rock along with that. Good. Maybe you feel that nice massage on the low back. Bring your knees to the center. Float your feet off the mat. Happy baby. Can you be one? Can you channel your inner happy innocence right here? And then extend the body, shake everything out. Shake everything out. Inhale and exhale. Arms by your sides, back of the neck is long. Giving yourself time. If you need to grab your blanket, put it under your head or put it over you, then grab what you need that will make you more comfortable. If you extend the legs in Shavasana and your low back doesn't feel good, then you can bend your knees, maybe separate the feet a little bit and let the knees just rest against each other. Giving yourself this time to just be after exploring different deep feeling within the body, within your energy and the mind, and just giving yourself this time as you relax, restore, and just breathe. Keeping your eyes closed, you might decide that you need a little more time here. You can just turn this off and stay here for a little longer. Or you might feel that you're ready or you have to move into your day right now. And if that's the case, start to breathe a little more deeply, bring your environment into your attention as well as the inner landscape will open to the outer landscape too. And start to reawaken, wiggling around, doing any movement that feels nice and reawakening. But still feeling. So when it's time to kind of start this transition, don't jump in your mind right into your day. Still experience this. This is part of our practice. Maybe you hug your knees in on an exhale, roll to the side. Maybe you roll up and down on your back. However you want to make your way to a seated position, make your way to a seated position. Let your hands come into the heart in some way. And I'll read to you a poem by Donna Faulds today that just has to do with this kind of going into a deeper experience. I just let these words kind of float around and through you. I think they're beautiful the way she writes. Go in and in. Be the space between two cells, the vast resounding silence in which spirit dwells. Be sugar dissolving on the tongue of life. Dive in and in as deep as you can dive. Be infinite ecstatic truth. Be love conceived and born in union. Be exactly what you seek, the beloved, singing yes, tasting yes, embracing yes, until there is only essence, the all of everything expressing through you as you. Go in and turn away from nothing that you find. Let's close with the vibration of Om one time. We'll inhale, exhale, inhale for Om. Inhale deeply. Exhale completely. Inhale for Om. Om. Namaste.